Hi, how are you? My name is Aurelius, and I'm here to show you how to make your own PPE. Uh, PPE stands for Personal Protective Equipment. It's designed to protect people who are in hospitals. It provides a face shield or face mask to stop them from getting particulates in their face. So you've ever watched a medical show, you'll see doctors using these when they are operating on someone. These are very common medical protection device that a lot of doctors have, except these days when they've gotten in short supply because of the COVID-19 outbreak. And so what I want to show you to do today is how to create a PPE using a 3D printer so that you can help out with the effort of keeping our medical staff on the front line safe. And this is something you may want to consider for people who are working with the public. All right, so let's get started. Let's look for, we're going to look for NIH COVID PPE. I'm going to put in print. Okay, NIH 3D print exchange. Okay, so just for anybody who might be a science teacher, this is a website. They don't just do stuff for COVID. This is a website that normally provides a lot of information for people who are just working in the medical field, medical educators, and provides 3D printing models for a lot of different medical uses, again, for education and for use. I would be very careful about what you print from here, simply because you want to make sure that the item you are printing is going to be safe for the person using it. For instance, you'll see a lot of designs on here for masks or ventilator masks. You want to be careful about downloading those and using them. Although there's been a lot of strides in the last few weeks in preventing and creating those type of masks, some of them may not be necessarily safe to use in a situation where you may get infected. Just a little FYI there. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's look at this website. You will notice that on this website we have a bunch of different designs for PPE. Okay, I'm going to show you how to use or how to download one of these designs and use them. So what I'm looking up here though is I'm looking for models that have been reviewed for clinical use. Okay, so these are models that someone's looked at and said, hey, these things might actually work well. What I want to print is I want to print a face shield for someone, and I'm going to find a good face shield. All right, I'm going to pick this one right here, and I'm going to pick this one because this one is been this design is undergoing review in a clinical setting and has been found appropriate when fabricated with the printer type and material specified. Don't worry a lot about the printer type. I know that just goes against what we just read, but I don't want you to get overly obsessed about that, is what I meant. The important thing is that we're going to print it from a device called PLA, and we're going to print it on a 3D printer. And just about any 3D printer will be able to do the job needed to do. Okay, so let's just go ahead and let's pick this device right here. You'll notice that here in the corner it says download. We're going to download that device. And we're going to download this one that says frame short STL. Just click on that. I was going to ask you where you want to download it. Now, me personally, I have a special folder. Most Windows users has a special folder. If you have Windows 10, you have a special folder called 3D Objects. I like to save these things in my folder called 3D Objects, and I am saving that now. And now I am going to use what's called a slicer. Now, if you have not already downloaded a slicer for your 3D printer, if you're just not taking it out of the box, I really do suggest that you do some other videos that I can direct you to that will teach you how to use a slicer. In the meantime, I'm going to use my slicer. Now, I use a slicer called Cura, and I'm going to go ahead and bring it right over here. Cura. You can see it right up in the corner. It's called Ultimate Cura, C-U-R-A. And what Cura does is it takes your 3D object and it turns it into a type of file that your 3D printer can use. Okay. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up the file that I downloaded. Here it is right here, the frame short STL. Double click on it, or you can hit open. And it's going to bring it right here into the frame. Now, as you just heard in the background, if your volume is up loud enough, you just heard my 3D printer come on. I'm starting to let it warm up. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to check my settings. Now, right now, if I hit with the settings that I had previously, okay, if I go ahead and I click on slice, what it's going to do is going to take these settings. It's going to tell me how long it's going to take for my 3D print to print. So I'm going to hit slice right here. And it tells me that it's going to take 3 hours and 54 minutes in order to print this object. Now, there are some changes I can make, especially if I'm using Cura. Again, you may have your own slicer that came with the software that you are using. There are a bunch of different slicers out there. Just make sure the slicer you're using has a setting that is compatible with your 3D printer. I am using the Ender 3. You see it up here. Seriality or Creality Ender 3 3D printer. And what I'm going to do is, first of all, make sure I have low quality, which I already have here, low quality. Under here where it says layer height, instead of 12, I'm going to change this to a 3. And what that's going to do is going to make thicker layers, which means that ultimately it'll print faster, okay? And then it says wall line count. I previously had it set to 3, which means I have nice, thick, strong walls. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to set this down to 1, and it still should get me a pretty nice print. And then ask me for infill. For the infill, I'm going to say 0. I don't need any infill for this object. Make sure my printing temperature, I'm going to keep it about 210. It can be anywhere from 200 to 220, depending on the type of PLA that you've purchased. And then I'm going to hit slice. And now I've brought that time down to 1 hour and 31 minutes to print this band. Which is funny because oftentimes people ask me, like, can you make me a band? Or I would like to get, 14 bands. I'm like, look, if you want 14 bands, it's going to take at least 16 hours to get this, to get it printed up. So I'm always trying to be very careful about making people understand that this is not like a mass production process. Just to make one band, it takes 1 hour and 31 minutes. I'm pretty sure if I were able to play with my settings a bit more, if I was a bit more experienced, I might even be able to get it down to a whole hour. But then what I'm going to do is, once I've got that done, now I have an option here to print to USB. That's because I have my printer connected directly to, my computer connected directly to my printer. The way I would a regular inkjet printer. What I'm going to do is I'm going to save using the SD card. All right, so the way we're going to do this, I'm going to show you how to do this using the traditional way of using your SD card. So what we're going to do first is I'm going to take the SD card out of my Ender 3 3D printer. And again, depending on what kind of 3D printer, most 3D printers use SD cards, such as this one right here, a little micro SD card, like the kind you might find in a cell phone. All right. And with my printer, I got an adapter. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick it right here in the back of my adapter, right? And then I'm going to put it into the USB reader of my computer. Once I do that, it's going to ask me what I want to put on the card. You see right now I don't have anything on there. What I'm going to do down here is I'm going to just click on, you see it says Save to Removable. I'm going to click on Save to Removable. It just saved it to my card. I'm going to hit Eject. Okay. And now I'm going to go ahead and take my USB card out. So I am taking my USB card out. of the USB port, and then I'm going to take the SD card out of the adapter. Okay, see that there? Great. Next time I shoot a video, maybe I shouldn't shoot it in front of a wide open daylight window. How about that? Okay, so now that I've done that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the same SD card, stick the SD card into my printer. There, done and done. Okay. All right, so you may be ready to go ahead and start printing your item. And so now that you've put your SD card or your TF card inside of the Ender 3, what you're going to do is you're going to navigate the screen, okay, by turning and pushing the little knob next to the screen. So first what I'm going to do is go ahead and push the knob, okay, and I'm going to pick the option Print from TF. And then hit here, boom. Now, you may not see anything there. If you don't see anything there, just turn your knob down to refresh and then click refresh, okay? And then you'll see everything that's on your card. Once you see everything that's on your card, go to frame, and then click here. And then your printer is going to do the rest. So the first thing that's happening is that my printer is going to warm up. And so you notice that on the right, there is a little picture of a bed with some waves coming up from it right here. That is your printing bed. That is the plate that your printer is on. And then to the left, you're going to notice that little picture of an extruder of a nozzle. Right now it's at 27 degrees. It's eventually going to get up to 220 degrees. When it gets up to 220 degrees or 210 degrees or how many degrees you set it for in your slicing software, then your print will start to print. Okay, so we're going to let it finish up and then we're going to check back in when it's ready. While we're waiting for that to warm up, just some notes about 3D printing itself. 3D printing is a fun activity. It's a great activity, but it's also an activity that requires some self-education, some trial and error, and a little bit of patience. Actually, a lot of patience. You're going to run into all types of problems. There are some things that I wish people had told me when I first started printing that that really helped out a lot. One of those things is you want to always make sure that you are setting your printer for the settings that are going to work best for you. For instance, if you're printing something just like very small and you need it done fast, go ahead and delete the infill. If you need to be strong and sturdy, the more infill, the stronger it will be. Another thing is how to keep things from coming off your plate. So in some cases, you might start printing and things might start coming off of the printing plate. And there are actually two solutions for that. The first solution is you want to make sure that your printer bed is properly calibrated and leveled. Again, various printers have various ways of leveling the bed. If you do not have an automatic leveler on your printer, the way to do it is go ahead and set the auto home settings, turn the printer off, and then move your printer head over the four little knobs over your bed and put some paper in between the printer head and the bed and slide it back and forth. You want to keep sliding it back and forth until you get a little bit of drag, a little bit of resistance, and that resistance is signs that you probably have the printer head at just the right space. Again, there are a lot of tutorials on YouTube on how to do that. Another problem might be, again, things coming off of your plate while you're printing, and the solution for that is incredibly low tech. And that solution would be a glue stick. Just your regular average glue stick, like the kind you might give to your kids on their first day of school. I like to use a kind with the purple on it. The purple makes sure that you can see the glue stick. Just go ahead and slide some liberally onto your, put a nice sheet, I should say. Put a nice sheet, a nice sheen of glue stick onto your plate. And it won't mess anything up, it won't gum up anything, but your plates will stick. Now, if you do put the glue stick on there, you might have the exact opposite problem, is that after you finish printing everything, you can't get it off. You may want to go ahead, and if it's possible for you at all, to remove your printer bed, and most printer beds do come with a very easy way of removing them. Either on an Ender 3, they're usually attached by either a magnetic plate that goes on top or paper clips. Take the paper clips up, remove the plate first, and then you can go ahead and use something like a paint scraper to go ahead and remove your item off. If you're having a hard time getting your item off the plate, never do a whole lot of work while it's actually on the printer. You might throw your calibrations off. So remove the plate first and then try and remove it again. That's something I learned the hard way. Okay. And if you have any other questions, again, I always tell people, Google is your friend, YouTube is your friend. You can learn a lot online. Don't be afraid to try something and make a mistake and then try it again. If you get too frustrated where you just feel like you feel horrible, yeah, maybe walk away, go do something fun for a while and then come back to it. But I guarantee you, once you get 3D printing down, you'll find the things you can do for yourself and the things you can do for others to be very rewarding. It looks like our plate is almost ready to go. All right. Okay, you'll notice that once the printer gets to temperature, it will start to move. It will start to print. And there she is. She's getting started. Again, if you look closely, you'll notice that there's a little bit of residue on my plate. That's a dry glue stick, and it just sort of helps my prints to stick to where they're supposed to stick. And let's just go ahead and get a sped up view of this process. Okay, finally, we're all done and finished. It took about an hour and 20 minutes to print. We're all set. So that's all there is to it. The way you finish this is you usually get a report cover, the little clear covers you see to turn your reports in if you went to school in the 90s. And you can buy those in bulk, or you can buy them at a local pharmacy or office supply store, and then cut them up. Use a 3-hole punch, and then use a 3-hole punch to fit them over these little tabs right here, and you're all done. Or if you're working with another network, you can go ahead and make 10 of these, put them in a plastic bag, follow instructions for sanitizing them, 70 to 90% alcohol to sanitize them, and wipe them down, or you can give them a nice bleach bath, and then they'll be ready to be shipped off and shared with another hospital. Thank you for joining me, and you have a nice day. Bye.